All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. It is Wednesday, and that means time for some Wednesday wisdom. Reading from Dr. Wayne W. Dyer's Wisdom of the Ages, 60 Days to Enlightenment, but it's been much longer than 60 days, ladies and gentlemen. We started in January, and now we're to September 21st, 2022, if anyone is interested in the future for reference. It is 1:05 here in the afternoon for me, and I hope it's a wonderful day wherever you are. It's a little drizzly outside and cool. Been getting used to that summer weather, but maybe it's time to start cooling down, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you've got yourself a beverage, something comfy, because today we're diving into the topic of individuality. Coming to us from E. Cummings. Very fascinating. E. Cummings lived 1894, ladies and gentlemen, to 1962. One of the most gifted and independent poets of his era. American poet E. Cummings wrote lyrical poems, humorous character sketches, and bitter satires on the foibles and institutions of his time. And so let's dive right into this long selection of poetry, about a page and a half, and see what it has to teach us, and then continue on after that to see what Wayne Dyer has to say about what we can learn from this poem and this idea about individuality, ladies and gentlemen. So thank you so much for joining me, and let's dive right into it to get some wisdom of the ages. Individuality. Here's little Effie's head, whose brains are made of gingerbread. When the judgment day comes, God will find 6 crumbs, stooping by the coffin lid, waiting for something to rise. As other somethings did, you imagine his surprise. Bellowing through the general noise, where is Effie? Who was dead? To God in a tiny voice, I am May, the first crumb said. I am May, the first crumb said, whereupon its fellow 5 crumbs chuckled as if they were alive, and the number 2 took up the song. Might, I'm called, and did no wrong, cried the 3rd crumb. I am should, and this is my little sister could, with our big brother who is wood. Don't punish us, for we were good. And the last crumb with some shame whispered unto God, my name is Must, and with the others I've been Effie, who isn't alive. Just imagine it, I say, God amidst some monstrous din. Watch your step and follow me, stooping by Effie's little inn. Want a match, or you can see, with the 6 subjunctive crumbs, twitch like mutilated thumbs. Picture his peering biggest way, colored face on which a frown puzzles, but I know the way. Nervously, whose eyes approve the blessed, while his ears are crammed with the strenuous music of the innumerable capering damned, staring wildly up and down. The here we are now, Judgment Day. Cross the threshold, have no dread. Lift the sheet back in this way. Here is Effie's head, whose brains are made of gingerbread. Wow, ladies and gentlemen, that one is very interesting. I have very little extrapolation I can do on that, except for the idea of the names of the crumbs that made up Effie, whose brains are made of gingerbread. But those crumbs, ladies and gentlemen, if you realized, were these things that we all do too much of and think too much of in our life, which is should have and could have and would have, and then we must. And all these ideas around those words, should have, would have, could have, and I must. And it's like maybe we can find more peace in our lives by not focusing so much on the shoulda, coulda, wouldas and what we think we must. But let's dive right into what Dr. Wayne Dyer has to teach us from this poem and on this subject of individuality. To appreciate E. E. Cummings fully, Wayne begins, it helps to know that the energy of his poetry derived from his extremely strong iconoclastic sense of individualism. He was a student of Ralph Waldo Emerson's strong dissertation against established authority, self-reliance, quote unquote. While serving in Europe during World War I, he was interned in a detention camp by his own army because of his friendship with an American who was critical of the war effort. And so the French censor deemed him potentially dangerous because he had a mind of his own. This is important for us, ladies and gentlemen, because we need to stand up for our own mind. And so he even went so far as to legally change his name to lowercase letters only. And he mostly used lowercase in his poetry, also using eccentric punctuation and phrasing, which probably is why I was so choppy there for me to try to read that poem, but I thought I did quite well. So if you think I need to practice reading poetry more, ladies and gentlemen, leave a comment below. But this isn't about reading poetry. This is about learning wisdom and things that we can help use in our lives to increase the quality of our moment to moment and day to day lives. Because each moment is your life, ladies and gentlemen. And so don't let the moments be taken up by things that you don't want to be the experience of your life. And so this idea, confirming, and so he changed his name to lowercase letters only. That's so funny. He spent 36 days touring Russia, confirming his distaste for collectivism and further strengthening his already firm resolve about the importance of thinking for oneself and resisting authority, ladies and gentlemen, particularly when it demands conformity. We need to go forward in our lives, I'm just adding this here, to strengthen our resolve about the importance of thinking for ourselves and resisting authority, particularly when it comes to demanding your conformity. That's big in the world today. So think twice on that before you start just conforming and following whatever it is you're told. We need to become autodidactic, ladies and gentlemen, which means we are self-educated. Now, that's a different subject in its own. Maybe, or maybe that's the point that Wayne is getting to here with this idea of individuality and his selection here from E. E. Cummings. And so this poem, the story of God greeting Effie on Judgment Day, Wayne continues, has long been a particular favorite of mine. It speaks directly to Cummings' steadfast belief in New England descent and self-sufficiency. I love the image of God stooping by the coffin lid and being surprised when there is no Effie. Her brainless self has been supplanted by the poet's six symbols of empty-headedness, which Cummings calls the six crumbs of the gingerbread. I'm sure that's what he was referring to. These crumbs of gingerbread, yes, okay. Wayne continues, these crumbs of gingerbread are what Effie has left for her brain. And he asks all of us, Cummings does, to look at how often we employ these crumbs of conformity in place of our own individuality, ladies and gentlemen. The first crumb's name is May, one of the innumerable capering damned, quote from the poem. As Cummings calls his six symbols of being dead in the head, May needs to seek permission of the others to act. As in, may I please have your blessing as well as your indulgence in allowing me to be or do anything? And so how many of us in our lives have this aspect of this may, you know, needing external approval and being connected to the opinion of other people in order for us to just simply be or do anything. And so that is something that we can work on in our lives. This word may symbolizes self-doubt, Wayne continues, and the tendency to seek validation in the approval and authority of others. To always use it, says Cummings, is to substitute gingerbread for your brain. Number 2, Crumb's name is might, whose way of life is it might have been. Might also is synonymous with may, asking, might I have permission of others? In either case, the tendency to behave in these obsequious, obsequious ways, symbolized by may and might, are inclinations that the poet asks us to challenge strenuously. Otherwise, be at the peril of having no substance for God to greet on Judgment Day. This is a deep one, ladies and gentlemen. I've been going through some things recently. My dad just got out of the hospital yesterday, so I'm very happy about that, and he's back home. He's doing all right now, so thank the Tao, thank Great Spirit, thank God, the universe for that. And so maybe my mind's in multiple places here, but this one is very interesting to me, ladies and gentlemen. Crumbs 3 and 4, Wayne continues, and 5 are the rhyming triplets of any way of life that is vacant and barren of personal power. Should is the term we use when we refer to our past actions, from a wishful perspective. Here we can take an action and assess it, not on the basis of what we did, but on how we should have done it. In our reality system, though you can never should have done anything. So in reality, what Wayne is saying, you can never should have done anything. What does he mean by that? You cannot should have been here last week. Today, it is impossible. And this is important to realize because so many of us go around saying we should have done this or you should have done that. Or his example in one of his lectures is he moved to a house in Long Island or an apartment or something. And the electricity wasn't turned on when he got there, and he called the Lilco, the Long Island Lighting Company, and they told him, sorry, sir, you should have called on Wednesday. He said, hello, is this Earth? He taps on the phone, like, and the lady's going, yeah, what? Yes, of course. What are you talking about? And he goes, well, in my experience, in my reality on Earth, there is no way that you should, exactly what he's saying there. You cannot should have done anything. He has these ways of using logic that just break the mind of normal people that are stuck in the neurotic way of living that we've been conformed to accept. And so we have conformed to accept. And so you can never should have done anything. You cannot should have been here last week. Today it is impossible. He gives us another story here that I've never heard from Wayne before. So this is what I love about reading these things. You find things, even though if you've been a Wayne Dyer fan for a long time, you find things you never heard before. And so he goes, I told a taxi driver after he said, the weather's beautiful here this week, but you should have been here last week. I can already see. So imagine Wayne, he's riding in a taxi and taxi driver goes, the weather's beautiful this week, but you should have been here last week. Those who live exclusively with their shoulds are living an impossibly empty life, using up the present moments, commiserating over what they should or shouldn't have done. Now, little sister could and big brother would, so should, could, and would, are indications that a vacancy sign is displayed because the brain's owner is unavailable. These three siblings. So maybe this is a lesson on how to take back the true power of your brain. But we'll see if I remember that. It's always difficult for me to come up with titles for these videos because the subjects are just so encompassing and broad, and they're so fantastic, and it's hard to think of, number one, how am I going to accurately describe what is being talked about here? But number two, with a title that might actually get people interested in to listen what is being talked about here. And so it's this kind of balance of trying to catch those kind of things. Sorry there, ladies and gentlemen, had to use the cough button, mute button. Now, let us continue here. And so we're talking about little sister could, big brother would, should, could, and would, And all of these are displaying a vacancy sign because the brain's owner, us, our true self, our self-actualized self that we've always talked about, these three siblings' way of life involves despair as they hope and debate decisions and actions. So, quote, I would do it if I only could, has both siblings making excuses in the same sentence, explaining away a lack of initiative and action when they are used in an interrogatory fashion, so like an interrogation. The word interrogatory kind of stumped me there for a sec, ladies and gentlemen. Such as, would it be all right? Or could I please have permission? They're all gingerbread substituting for a clear, decisive mind. I think that's the point here is, getting rid of this indecision and all of these shoulds, coulds, and woulds, and may and might. And it's like, we need to have a clear and decisive mind and be able to be and do what it is that we decide to be and do without being controlled externally, ladies and gentlemen. And that's a very hard place for, I think, many of us to get to in our lives because it requires the hard, the candor, the hard decisions that we have to make so that we can get to that place for ourselves. Because I truly believe that when we are in a place of I should have, I could have, I would have, and may I and might I be this and do that, we're in a place that's not the place where we want to be, and we don't have that sense of personal freedom. It's hard for me to ramble today because my thoughts are pretty deep anyways, but let us continue, ladies and gentlemen. I hope you knew where I was getting at with that. And if you're getting value, let me know in the comments below. Leave a comment that says yes, and smash that like button because that tells the algorithms to push this video to more people, and so that more people might discover these videos. So if you do like these videos and you want more people to discover these videos, then give me a tap on that like button, ladies and gentlemen. Now, could I please have permission? Will it be all right? We're substituting a clear and decisive mind for these other things. When they are used as explanations for why something didn't work out, they're still the stuff of empty-headedness. The last, with some shame, gives his name as must, the final symbol of a bare cupboard. This is the crumb that is used to explain all of the obligations you have to live up to, the demands and expectations of others. Remember, this is about becoming internally directed, an internally directed person rather than an externally directed. And conformity and individuality, ladies and gentlemen. And so the crumb that, all the obligations you have to live up to, the demands and expectations of others. I must do this because they will be disappointed if I don't. I must do as I am programmed to do, or I'll collapse. My friend and teacher, Albert Ellis, refers to this impulse as masturbating. That's funny. There we have the 6 indices of a head that is so unoccupied that God stoops in surprise as he waits for something to rise. Now this poem becomes a bit more clear, ladies and gentlemen. Here, instead of a personal inventory of excuses that we employ, so instead of our own individuality and our own spirit and being arising out of us in life, what is arising out of us because of each of these 6 crumbs of the emptiness or lack of a purposefully, a self-actualized and a self-directed mind. It's like God stoops in surprise. Here, instead of all of these good things that we want, is a personal inventory of excuses that we employ far more frequently than we are aware. It often seems natural to seek permission and ask to be authorized rather than to take control of one's life. And it is. It seems very natural and accidental for us to seek this permission, to be authorized by external sources rather than taking control of our own life. When we say, may I, we're really saying, I don't trust myself to take the necessary steps, so I'll just turn my life over to someone else. To Cummings, this is the same as having no brain, or at best to being brain dead, and instead having gingerbread crumbs where God intended there to be a thinking person. Now, all of these teachings that have come from the wisdom of the ages and the wisdom of the Tao, I'll say, can be taken multiple ways. You could take this a very negative way and say that, oh, he's just saying to, that don't care what anybody else thinks and just do things without any empathy and compassion for others. And if you're taking this that way, then I am sorry. This is not the intended meaning of what we're talking about here, ladies and gentlemen. What we're talking about is taking back our own individual power, our own self-individuality, and our own self-identity, and a comfort and a contentment and a confidence in being and doing what it is we want to be and do without seeking confirmation from authority and conforming to what everybody else outside of us thinks we should be and do. So that's more of what we're talking about here. Don't take it the wrong way, ladies and gentlemen. So Wayne continues, when we discuss what we should have done, or what we could have done, or what we would have done, we're not tuned into our reality system. And so I'm just double checking here because I think you said that on the previous page. Yeah, we never should have done anything. You should have been here last week. Today, it's impossible. So once again, going over that idea, when we discuss what we should have done or what we could have done or what we would have done, ladies and gentlemen, we are not tuned in to reality. Just simply. What does that mean, Chase and Wayne? We're not tuned into reality. So it's like no one could have done anything differently than they did, period. So don't beat yourself up about it. It's a waste of time in the present moment, which is all we have. Remember, I started early in this video by saying our present moments is what makes up our life. So if we want to have a better quality of life, stop using our present moments to think that we should have or what we could have or what we would have or I must or may I or might I. And you're understanding now, ladies and gentlemen. You're starting to get this. Because we cannot ever should have done anything different. No one ever would have done it differently, regardless of any and all circumstances, because we did it. It was us, just doing what we knew that we could do in the moment. And I think, let's continue. We did it, period. You can learn from all that you have done, but woulding and coulding and shoulding are clearly impossible in reality, in this moment. And so using the three rhyming triplets, coulding, wooding, and shoulding, is like substituting gingerbread crumbs for your own thinking process. You don't have to masturbate, Wayne says. You are free to direct your own life in your own fashion, irrespective of all those who have laid musts on you in the past, ladies and gentlemen. We really need to believe this. Because if you're like most of us, like me and any of the rest of us out here, in reality, you're going through a lot of shoulding and coulding and wooding and may I and must us, must I and all of those things. And so it's important for us to begin using our minds so that we can become free to direct our own life in our own fashion, irrespective of all those who have laid all of these ideas on us in the past. Don't let yourself be an Effie, whom God won't be able to find when you depart this world. You have been given a brain and a capacity to think and act based on your use of that remarkable organ. Don't let it deteriorate into a few crumbs by employing those 6 symbols of empty-headedness, ladies and gentlemen. This has been profoundly powerful. It got more and more, made more and more sense as we progressed through it at the beginning. I was like, this is confusing. But this is powerful, ladies and gentlemen, changing our mind and using the true power of our mind. Don't let yourself be an Effie. You've been given a brain and a capacity to think and act and direct our own life in a fashion. Remember, my favorite quote is, you must advance confidently in the direction of your own dreams and endeavors. That's the shortened version, but you must advance confidently in the direction of your own desires and endeavor to live a life that you have imagined. Now, to put the thoughts of this idea and this strongly individualistic poet to work in our life, begin the process with these ideas, ladies and gentlemen. So this is the practicality. This is why you should get this book for yourself, to put it on your shelf, because at the end of every one of these chapters is ways that we can apply these lofty ideas into our life practically, ladies and gentlemen. So number 1, Wayne says, catch yourself as you are about to use any of the 6 crumbs by first becoming aware of your use of these terms. You will then be able to remove them not only from your vocabulary, but from your life as well. And, really taking a look at our own vocabulary and how it impacts our life is extremely important, ladies and gentlemen. It's like it can make a big change in our life. And so number 2, do not be a permission seeker when it comes to the important dealings of your life. Rather than saying, may I attend the seminar? Would it be all right if I went to this luncheon? State your intentions in a declarative sentence and say, I will be attending this meeting, or I have scheduled this lunch on my calendar. Would you care to join me? Number 3, let go of your attachment to responsibilities that others have given you without your consent. That may be one of the biggest sentences, ladies and gentlemen, in self-actualization and taking back your own power in the direction of your life, is let go of your attachments to responsibilities, not that you've created, but that others have given you without your consent. Remember the great saying that no one makes a fool of me without my consent. You and only you are one. And you and only you are the one to be making the choices about your own responsibilities. And you have no shoulds to live up to unless they are your decisions. Turn your shoulds and musts into your own personal options and carry them out with a strong sense of your own character, your own strength, and most importantly, ladies and gentlemen, your own aliveness. No gingerbread for you. Boom, ladies and gentlemen. Boom to wisdom. Boom to the knowledge of getting rid of the shoulds and coulds and woulds and musts and mays and mights of our lives. In order so that we can take back the direction of our life without being swayed this way or that by the ideas of others that have so long had us conformed to the ideas that are not our own and the directions that are not our own. This was a deep one, ladies and gentlemen, but I really hope you get value from these because I do. I know I do. And this is why I do it, so that hopefully somebody else will get value and continue on in their life with a much higher quality in their life. And maybe they can enjoy their moments a little bit more here and there, ladies and gentlemen, because continue. Remember to seek to achieve and maintain happiness through enlightenment, through greater awareness and understanding of the reality that we live in. And continue to seek to discover the wisdom of the ages, not just the wisdom of the ages in this book, but the wisdom of the ages from all great, wonderful authors and poets and teachers, mystics, philosophers, all the great teachers that there have been throughout humanity and throughout our history. And number 3, ladies and gentlemen, remember that happiness is the way. There is no way to happiness because happiness is the way. So if we can begin to bring happiness to life as the process and the activity, the action, the adjective, what it is we are doing with practice, then we can begin to get better, just like lifting weights. If you don't just lift weights one day and get strong, it takes practice, ladies and gentlemen, and it takes repetition over time, discipline. And so that's why I say seek to achieve and maintain this happiness, because we have to have the maintenance process, the practice. That is what keeps it going and keeps it flowing and allows us to keep bringing it to the moment, ladies and gentlemen. So make happiness the way, so that all the things we've been striving for and saying, I'll be happy when, or I would be happy if I should have or could have or would have, or, what we talked about today, all that becomes irrelevant, ladies and gentlemen, because we're exactly where we want to be. We've brought happiness to the moment, and we're feeling what it is we want to feel, and then the entire journey becomes wonderful. Thank you so much for all of those of you who spend time here with me and Dr. Wayne Dyer and all the wonderful authors and poets of the wisdom of the ages. And we missed Tuesday Dow yesterday. I'm sorry about that. I just had a lot going on in my head, and it was all right. I had to take a break day. You got to take a break day every now and then, ladies and gentlemen, because that's part of the Tao. Is there are times for rest and there are times for action, and knowing and recognizing those times and allowing without judging yourself is a great and powerful practice in itself. And so maybe we'll be back tomorrow to do some Thursday Tao again this week, ladies and gentlemen. But I just love you all and appreciate you all. And expand the description below. I just sold my first landscape painting, I think, this year. I think that's the longest time since I opened my Etsy shop that I went without selling a painting. It's 9 months, ladies and gentlemen, almost 10 months. But guess what? The one that just sold was, it's a spooky, kind of Halloween themed design. And so it's that time of year, ladies and gentlemen. So maybe, but anyways, I'm more into the beauty of life, not so much the dark and the spooky. I like the light and the beauty, ladies and gentlemen. So if you want a light and a beautiful painting, just like the one in the background there, and I have a stack of 40 of them, then expand the description below and go visit my Etsy shop and check out what we got, as well as a link to C60 Purple Power, the most powerful antioxidant known to man, which I've been taking for a few years now, and it has given me incredible results, ladies and gentlemen. So you want some of that for yourself, as well as this book for yourself to put on your shelf, which is also linked in the description below. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be back either tomorrow or next week, but be sure to subscribe and share this with somebody you think is like-minded. Life-minded and like-minded, ladies and gentlemen. It wouldn't be a video without a little bit of a laugh. Love you, ladies and gentlemen. Until next time.